is going to have waves of things with different affixes, I think that would be totally appropriate. And then, you know, probably you could change the religiosity aspect of the game. I mean, this is a world based on Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft, and so there's a perfect arena there for mythos and for backstories and all this stuff. And it makes sense to me that some of these characters are going to have backstories that just don't work. They just don't like each other. Some of them are religious, some of them are not, etc. But there's something frustrating about the limitations in that system, and that you just don't get to play certain characters. I'd say lastly, I would love to see the leper get a little bit more love in the base game, because literally, I mean, it is what it is, and a lot of people see it as a meme and they say party only, which is insane because you can't do anything to the back line ever, for the most part. But it just seems to me like a character that is really cool in concept and in backstory. It fits DD so well, but just doesn't quite get enough love and is really dependent on accuracy trinkets. And I think anything that's dependent on trinkets to perform well seems to me to be not powerful enough. So I don't know. I think that's probably the places to start. I could go a lot deeper in some of these abilities, but those I think are some pretty good starters on things I would.
I agree with one of the points you made, that getting rid of the whole religious restriction within the base game, I think, would be a good step in the right direction. Because the fact that, again, my favorite class to play is Abomination, can't play with the main healer, can't play with the Crusader, can't play with the Flagellant, which is another great healer. Yet they're perfectly fine going with a Hellion character, which Hellion, their trinkets and even their abilities are all about renouncing religion and whatnot. They're like, you know what, the Hellion, you're okay. You have a good stun.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, the funny thing about Darkest Dungeon is it's not perfect. You're never going to find perfect balance. You're never going to find, I mean, I'm not somebody who believes in perfection or certainty. There's just working as hard as you can to get as close as you can to what's really, really solid. And there are finicky things that happen in DD all the time. I think the religiosity thing is one of those things. Another thing that we've run into is the way that you have to get invitations to go into the Crimson Court. You know, the Crimson Court DLC is great. It really scared the hell out of a lot of people. It was really, really difficult and challenging for a lot of people in the beginning. They kind of rebalanced it, retooled it. People got used to it, learned how to manage the curse system and all that stuff. And it's an amazing amount of content and artwork that's really should be appreciated. One piece of it that's been a little funky is that it requires invitations to get into the Crimson Court. And that means that you have to let infestation get high first, so that Crimson Court mobs spawn in the regular dungeons, and then you got to find a gatekeeper, kill the gatekeeper, who will then drop an invitation, and then you can go in. And when we were beating the game the first time through, we literally beat everything we could, and then we waited to do most of the Crimson Court stuff. So we did that. Then we went and killed everybody but the last Crimson Court boss, the Countess. And because we had just killed the previous boss, infestation was nowhere. We couldn't get to a gatekeeper, and all of your invitations go away. So literally, we just spent 2 days streaming, farming over and over, grinding and grinding to get to a gatekeeper, to get an invitation to go and try to kill the Countess. So I mean, that's an instance where it's just like, maybe this just wasn't quite thought through enough. There could be a different system to this, and ultimately we just installed a mod that prevented the necessity of that invitation to go in there, because it wasn't interesting anymore. You know, it was just taking too much time. So yeah, not quite perfect, but close enough.
All right, which version do you prefer to play, standard or PBD?
Boy, this is a difficult question, because actually, right, there are actually tribes here. If I say A or B, I'm absolutely probably going to be hissed at by opposite groups. So I have to be a little bit careful here, because the truth is that as a streamer, I definitely enjoy the challenge and the excitement and the flow that comes with Pitch Black Dungeon. There's something about it that is just unique, and not everybody's doing it. A lot of what you see on Twitch and by streamers who play Darkest Dungeon is the good old Blood Moon Torchless run, and that is cool. That is challenging. It's something I've never done before. I would like to do it. It's a vanilla game thing. I've just never done it, and part of the reason I never did it is because The Blood Moon difficulty, if you don't know, comes with weak limitations and character death limitations. So if you're doing modded content, like having modded classes into your gameplay, and there's constantly new things coming out and things are being tweaked, that never fit the paradigm of the stream. It never fit the structure of how we wanted to do expositions for content and things like that. So to move into Pitch Black Dungeon, which is modded content, and there's a huge, an amazing team behind it that is constantly working to retune it and to rebalance it and to reconfigure it. To be a part of that is something really, really special, because you see constant management and refinement, and that's all you really want, I think, out of a game company. It's just that they're constantly paying attention to what should be fixed, what should be retuned, etc. And you get that out of the PBD community. You get that out of people like Claire de Lune and Rael and all the guys who have worked on that. So I think, right now I'm really jaded about the base game. I have played Pitch Black Dungeon. I've taken down a couple champion bosses. We are going to beat it in relative time here. And every time I go back to the vanilla game, it's shocking and for the most part uninteresting to my audience. So that is difficult. However, without the base game, we don't get to experience so much more modded content because it's just not balanced for Pitch Black Dungeon, right? I mean, that's the thing about PBD is we play something that is extremely tuned to itself. When we go back to the base game, now we have an open arena. I mean, it's like Apple and Windows. It's like Windows is such a massive, right? I mean, it's so widely available that everybody has it, everybody uses it. And there's something about vanilla too in that aspect, that it's so available to everybody that's the way you're going to try a lot of modded content. So yeah, I love what vanilla is. I love what's done in vanilla. I love what Red Hook did with it. I love the modded content that's available for the vanilla game. Right now, I'm jaded about it, and I am loving the hell out of screaming in my sleep playing Pitch Black Dungeon, losing group wipes to bosses and bad affixes like damnable. So yeah.
Fanboys of Darkest Dungeon, put down your pitchforks, go back to Hamlet and await further orders.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah. The base game just never gave me nightmares, I think would be a succinct way. Would be a succinct way to say that.
I did get one legitimate nightmare from the base game. This took place, it was early October. I was doing a 12-hour stream for an Extra Life event with a group of friends, and I was doing a 12-hour stream of a whole new Darkest Dungeon playthrough. And it was there that I met the Shrieker for the very first time ever.
Ah, yes.
And I'm just like, what's this random mission in the Warrens? Or no, Weald. I'm like,
yeah.
Shrieker. That looks kind of cool. Says it's champion level. Whatever. I'll take a group of level 3s. Everything will be fine. They're trinked out, doing provision setup and everything. I'm like, all right, well, I don't know how long. It says it's short, so I probably only need this much food, this much torch, blah, 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 blah. I'm instantly there in the fight. I see it has like 70 dodge and that much hit points, and the nest has that much protection. I'm like, I think my best character has accuracy of 100.
Yeah. The Shrieker, that's a good one. I mean, the funny thing about DD, just as a small aside to what you're saying, is it's about learning, it's about psychology, and it's about trauma. And the thing about it is, every experience that you have in DD is one of those where you go, what did I just walk into? What the hell is it? It just crushed me. Now I need to do it differently. And that's what's so challenging about it. You don't get your hand held through much of it, or any of it in many cases. You just kind of walk into it, get crushed, and go, okay, now I know how to do this a little bit differently. That is the process we are in right now with Champion PBD, and that's what makes it so difficult. That's what makes it so nerve-wracking. The first time I played through the base game on Radiant, it was nerve-wracking. It didn't give me nightmares, but it was nerve-wracking. Now when I go back to it, I immediately do torchless with wonky groups at the highest difficulty, and I just try to make something interesting happen. So yeah, it becomes a little mechanistic, but the first time is always terrifying, basically.
What region in the game do you find the most satisfying to do a dungeon crawl? Whether it's the type of mobs that are in there, just the scenery, the lore, everything about it, between the Warrens, the Weald, the Ruins, the Cove, and the Crimson Court.
Wow, so immediate answer is Crimson Court, because it's new, and because I kind of like the vampiric lore that they did behind it. I mean, just once you understand what it takes to not only like artistically create the characters that exist in the game, but then to animate them using a program like Spine. If
Mm-hmm.
you know what these modders are capable of, you watch Marvin Sayer, you see Muscarine's stuff, and you see how they animate these characters. You walk into the Crimson Court, and your jaw is agape. You are blown away by the subtleties, the animations, the intricacies of all the characters, the backgrounds, the feel of that place.
Mm-hmm.
It is something very different and something very special, in my opinion. Other than that, I kind of have a little bit of love for the ruins, because the ruins is it's iconic a little bit, I think, to Darkest Dungeon, because the ruins is just it's that decrepit castle ruins feel that is very dungeon crawly, and uh it's just filled with stress and skeletons, and especially in Pitch Black Dungeon is one of the most punishing places you can be, because the skeletons resurrect. So if it's just so much more difficult to deal with their corpses. The stress is so much worse in many cases. So I kind of love the ruins. The ruins has a place in my heart, but I definitely really, really admire and am in awe of the work done in the Crimson Court these days. The Weald is one of those that I never, because the Weald is like mushroom-headed people,
Mm-hmm.
and it just feels different. There's running jokes in my chat and probably across Reddit in general about why people don't just burn it down. Why didn't you just burn down the Weald? Right, just burn the forest down. And I mean, it's kind of, yeah, okay, maybe, or maybe that would have just completely polluted the air and polluted the city, etc. You never know. But yeah, I think Crimson Court is probably my place of choice to hang out aesthetically and lore wise. But other than that, I think it's the ruins. I also just really like the ruins bosses. I've always been a fan of the necro thing, of the reanimated skeleton thing. Something about that turns me on. So
What has?
did you ask about least favorite also there? I missed that.
Uh, I was just asking for your favorite, but if you want to throw in your least favorite,
Okay.
go for it.
Cove.
What's wrong with the
Is
cove?
the Cove is cool. It's very cool, very different. It's just that I've been punished the most there, I think.
You never have enough shovels.
It's the shovels, it's the bleeds that you get from the fish. Literally, I have walked into a group of four pelegic piranha, I think is what they are. The swordsmen, right?
Yep.
I've walked right into a group of four of them. I've been surprised, and they've literally hit character 2 again dead before I had any move. So so there's something really, really terrifying about the Cove. That's both just the stress, the bleeds, the shovels,
The thralls.
the thralls, yes, that kind of stuff, right? It's that kind of stuff that I just feel like every time we go into the Cove, it's a slog. It's just going to be different. It's going to be a different kind of challenge. However, I do love that they put the Cove in the game, because lore-wise, the idea that there's like a sunken mariner, ghost shippy siren thing is unbelievable to me. I think it's great. I mean, it's so enjoyable. So, yeah.
All right. What has been your most memorable moment in any of your Darkest Dungeon playthroughs?
Oh, jeez. So, I'll just make this clear. I'm in my third of 3 playthroughs right now, right? So we started 4 months ago. We beat the base Radiant game with modded classes. Then we go back to that every once in a while for modded stuff. Then we started the darkest difficulty version of the base game for modded content, which is our alternative run right now. So that run right now is purposed specifically for checking out new modded content that is only playable in the base game. Something that we're doing as an event, and we have been doing for the last couple of months, is the Sayo special runs, which is basically Marvin Sayo has challenged me to take his 4 modded classes, run them in one single run all the way through the courtyard, and kill the boss there using his group and only his group, and only one run. So we did that for the Baron. Then we did it again for the Viscount. That was a 6-hour dungeon run where we had a Death's Door we had to get rid of. We had an Affliction we had to stress away. It was an absolute nightmare. And probably tomorrow night or early next week, we're going to do it again and try to actually kill the last boss, the Countess, in one run with the Sayo special. I totally forgot your question.
What's been your most memorable moment in any of your playthroughs?
Thank you. I'm getting lost in the fear of having to actually accomplish this mission now. So that was really memorable. To get through that is why it's partly why I brought that up. To get through to use his group, which is a great group. He did